Ah, hey everybody, welcome to the G. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books and talk about books, and this is going to be a hard one. A couple of books later, it's going to be even harder, but this is going to be a hard one. We're almost to the end. We're almost to the end. We're almost to the unboxing. Oh, I can't wait. I'm not going to open it till I finish my reread, though. So how's it going there, Casanova? If you've been with us, I believe this is book 52. We've read so many in this series. Are you ready for a serious book? Eve does some wonderful things in here. This is a very serious book, but we do start out with some spoilers. And be prepared for a whole ton of spoilers. Major happenings in this book, character-wise. And you're going to join me for it. J.D. Robb, Faithless in Death. And as you know, I'm an audiobook person. So I got me both. Now later on, I stick to Audible. But for the next few, I still got books on CDs, physical ones. I highly recommend listening to Susan Erickson. She's awesome. And like I said, this is book 52. For those of you who are new to the series, we won't go through a normal spiel because a lot of it doesn't pertain to this book anyway. But Eve Dallas is a lieutenant with the New York City Police and Security Department. And Rock is her husband. And Peabody is her partner, Detective Peabody. And McNabb is Peabody's cohab and forever person. Mavis is her best friend and is a rock star. And Leonardo is a fashion designer, her husband. Bella is their kid, and they are expecting the next one. When it'll be born, we don't know. It's like 10 books from now, and the kid still hasn't been born yet. And we never know. It may be in that unboxed one. We never know. We'll see what happens when we get there. You got to come with me. You got to join my journey. And join me on my journey with these books. I love these books. Mira is the department shrink. Whitney is Eve's boss. Tibble is the big boss. Feeney is captain of EDD. He was also Eve's trainer way back when. Nadine is a reporter, television reporter. She has her own show. She's written the Icove case, Icove book, and she's also got the Red Horse coming out soon. So, and she's a reporter on Now. She does a big television show. What's happening now in the news, crime-wise, etc. And she plays a huge part in this book too. So those are the main. We have a lot of Eve's bullpen playing a part in this. If my monitor is shaking, it's because my other co-host is marking her territory. She's upset that the boy is here. So, come here. She's going to put me on this. There you go. Make an appearance. There she is. Goodbye. She's going to do everything she can to get him out. So, and also something that started a few books ago was fancy covers. And this is, oh look, there's Galahad. He looks a lot like her. All the books. Isn't it cool? All the different colors. All the different causes of death. So, we start the book, this difficult book, and it's difficult because of the subject matter. And there's a couple of books down the road that's going to get even more subject matter. So it's brainwashing, it's an occult, it's slavery, it's human trafficking, it's everything. But I'm going to stick on a few. Are you going to come here? I'm going to stick on a few light moments to start because I enjoy these books so much, and I want you to enjoy them with me. And I'm hoping you will enjoy those with me. And hey, if you're doing some housework or something, or got some chores to do, mind you listen to some Susan Erickson while you're at it. What are you doing? So I did this a video the other day. You can check it out. It's a minute long. I said, what's wrong with a person? What do you say about a person who, I asked this question, what do you say to a person who feels easier buying books than they do clothes? I've got a rip in my jeans, see here? But I bought a book. Well, this one I've had. I bought a book. I still need to buy clothes. I've lost a tremendous amount of weight. It took quite a few years. It wasn't an easy task. So all my clothes are really, really baggy. And I mentioned the other day that I've had this blouse since the 80s. I was going through some pictures, and I found a picture of me in this blouse in 1984. I wish my other clothes were still here. I could fit into them now. So anyways, what starts up, it's not a normal book because this just explodes into a ginormous case, and it just rolls. And there's so much in here. It's unbelievable how much Eve gets done. And I hope you enjoyed the last book. It was Shadows and Death. The speedboat airplane chase at the end was so cool, ending in Rourke's family's front yard. But as we know, there are some key moments that happen in every single book. And I'm going to point them out because I enjoy them so much. And I hope you enjoy them so much. Do you enjoy them so much? We have a few. There's no candy thief in this book. Darn it, darn it, darn it, darn it. But there is Jenkinson's ties. So we start the book off with Eve suffering greatly. Oh, woe is me. Oh my God, I gotta fill out the paperwork. Oh, woe is me. Woe is me. I'm gonna die. Paperwork could kill. Nothing to Eve Dallas's mind reached the same heights or depth as paperwork's terminal boredom. And if the boredom didn't kill you, the frustration would. She had to survive it. At NYPSD's homicide division lieutenant, she had to survive it. But it had seemed desperately clear to her as she sat at her desk in her tiny office in Cop Central that by spring of 2061, somebody sure as hell should have found a cure. The paperwork. So she finishes that, and she gets a call for a case. Dispatch, Dallas, Lieutenant Eve, homicide. But anyway, as she's strolling out of the bullpen with Peabody, Peabody, with me, as she always says, Peabody, with me. Her stride hitched briefly as she blinked at Jenkinson's tie. She should be used to the detective's insane ties by now, she thought. But who got used to fat, bug-eyed yellow bumblebees buzzing over a neon orange field? Nobody did, nobody ever should. Peabody grabbed her coat and hustled to catch up. She wore curls today, her dark hair red-streaked and bouncy. Something else Eve couldn't get used to. And they go to the case. And Ariel Bird is deceased. She's an artist. And her gal pal, Gwen Hoffman, called in the murder or death. But She did it from home. Is that not suspicious? She didn't do it from the crime scene. She did it from home. She left the crime scene and she went home and showered and changed, put makeup on, and called her fiance boyfriend, and then called it in. Is that not suspicious? She's very, very calculating. Eve doesn't believe her for nothing. Then we go to the morgue. We see Morris. He's our ME. He's our top ME. And he is friends with De Winter, Garnett De Winter. And she is the Bone Lady. We met her in Concealed in Death. She has a very brief appearance in this book. But we all know Eve's contention for her because of the dog. She saved a dog, but instead of calling it in and following protocol and stuff like that, she actually physically took the dog from his owner's yard, took him off the chain, took him to the vet, got him cared for, and saved the dog's life. And even though Eve knows the woman did the right thing, she still stole the dog, and it just irks the crap out of Eve. And I don't know why, but it does. So she's got this thing for De Winter. But anyway, it turns out that De Winter and Morris had been in the park one day, and this woman was selling her artwork, and they bought some of it, and they were going to commission a sculpture from her, but obviously they can't do it now. She's deceased. So Eve gets a little more background on the deceased from De Winter. And then she gets some results from Dickhead. We don't see Berensky too much. He makes two very off-screen, off-stage occurrences. My other author says that when people appear on page, they're on stage. And then when events are relayed to you that have occurred, that's off stage. That's what she says, off stage. So she's doing all that stuff. And then Peabody and Eve have learned to use Eve's auto chef. Finally, after 52 books, she's learned how to use the auto chef for something else besides coffee. Just saying. And I have to share. You know me. I just have to share. Anyway, I can program something edible to go with that. My stomach says lunch. I can hit up vending, but Eve just waved a hand as she sat, plugged in the disc. Peabody perused the offerings on the auto chef menu. You got everything in here. How about we split a ham and provolone sub? Because it's going to be actual pig meat, actual cheese if it's in here. Whatever. And then Peabody also programs French fries. So that's our little, well, that's one of two auto chef things. Then Shelby comes in and gives Eve an update on the victim and the victim's friend. She gives her some childhood information. And, I've said this for like 10 or more books now, but Eve really, I know, those of you out there, I get it. But it's getting to the point where Eve needs to think of other people besides herself. She needs a new visitor chair. She won't get a new one because she doesn't want people to stay for long periods of time in her office. She doesn't want them to get comfortable in her office. But, there's a lot of dignitaries that come into her office. And she always gives up her chair and lets them, and she goes sit in the other one. But, she really needs to get a new visitor chair. Seriously. It's been 52 books now. She needs a new visitor chair. She needs a new office. But we all know, no, Eve doesn't want a new office. She finally got one at home. But, Shelby gives her a lot of information. And there's this thing. It's an occult. It's an organization that's strictly run. Very strictly run. They've got lots of power. Where's my... yes, sir, Lieutenant. I completely agree. It's not what you'd call a church, though they manage to get that status. But they sure do preach. No mixed or same-sex marriages or relationships. Outlaw licensed companions. Take women's reproductive rights back a couple of centuries. No method of birth control but abstinence and absolutely no premarital sex. Didn't they buy their own country or something, sort of, an island? People, rich ones like the Huffmans, helped finance that. Gwen's parents, if they knew she was seeing another woman... Shelby shook her head, drank more coffee. When I was 15, sir, I knew my orientation. My parents, my brother, my sister, my family all knew. It was just who I was, no issue. Gwen's, on the other hand, were of a different mindset, a different century. And she gives her more information on that. So Gwen turns out that she's a lesbian or gay, or however you want to say it. And her parents have huge, massive issues on it. And apparently, she was gonna, to be free of them, she would have to get married and produce one child. So she had her marriage. She found a guy, even though she could live with him. She guessed she was gonna get married, drug herself, get a kid, and then divorce and be done and be free. She had the whole thing worked out. And so the Ariel, the deceased, the same day she dies is the same day her niece is born. It's really sad. But I wanted to this, you know how Eve is always messing up phrases. She's taught they're having someone come in here for an interview. It worked because, lo and behold, she suddenly remembered her good friend Ariel mentioning she'd seen a strange guy hanging around in the neighborhood, which is totally false. I'm shocked and stunned. What does lo mean? I get the behold, but what is lo, and why is it always hanging out with behold? Behold must like it because it always lets lo come first. That's right, it does. It's never behold and lo. It could be. Get us a box, Peabody. And I just thought that was cute and had to share. So they do the interviews with that, and they learn a whole bunch of stuff from her about it. And I'm going to give you a huge, massive spoiler because I like it. Because it's my favorite part of the whole book. And I wanted it to be longer, but Eve didn't want it to be longer. But I wanted it to be longer. But Eve couldn't. Eve was like, okay, I know. That's it. I don't need to know more. And we'll all sit and go, yeah, we want to know more. We want to know more. Come on, more. Do we get more? No. Eve is always like, that's it. Good. Spoiler. Bing, 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 bing. Spoiler. Don't care. Love it. Where is it? She started to speak, to tell them both to wrap it up and go home, and Rock walked in. More than a contrast to McNabb's skinny frame inside a circus rainbow, Rock's leanly muscled build inside the smoke gray suit radiated power. Maybe, just maybe, with another handful of years of marriage, seeing him unexpectedly wouldn't simply dazzle her. Lieutenant, my luck's in. And there was Ireland with all its magic and poetry whispering in his voice. That makes two of us. I had a meeting and took a chance she'd still be about. Just hitting out. Yay, Peabody said and sprang up from her desk. We can meet up with Mavis and Leonardo. That's the plan, Rourke agreed. What plan? Eve said. I don't have that plan. I don't have time to have drinks or dinner or whatever. It's not that, I don't think. She has some surprise she wants to spring. Peabody snagged her coat. I was going to tag her, tell her we probably couldn't make it, but we can. She wants us to meet up just a few blocks from here. Why? Eve demanded, and Rourke shrugged. She wouldn't say, McNabb said. She just went. He wiggled his hands in the air. All will be revealed. Fine, fine. It was Mavis after all. But I have to make it quick. I'm working one, she told Rourke. Yes, I know. How do you know? I spoke with Jack about it briefly. Eve stopped dead on her way out. You spoke to Commander Whitney about my case? Briefly. He mentioned you were interviewing this person, and he goes on a little bit. I don't even know where the hell we're going. I have the address, Rourke assured her. So you drive. And even if it was only a few blocks, she could start a good run on the suspect, blah, blah, blah. And she'd get into this other subject. By the time she got home with this surprise detour, Baxter and Chewett would have completed the search and report. Keep going. And then she talks to McNabb about the stuff. And, she had barely gotten the basics when Rourke drove through an open gate, a single gate, she noted, wide enough for a good-sized truck with a short drive leading to a big white brick house with a long, wide front porch. Mavis stood on the porch, her hair cotton candy pink, fountained out of a top knot. She wore over-the-knee clear boots. What, Eve wondered, was the point in see-through boots? She paired them with a fluttery dress covered with some sort of pink posies. When she clapped her hands, Leonardo, towering copper skin, copper hair in long dreads, came out the black front door with Bella on his hip. The kid squealed, then threw her head back so her blonde ringlets danced and laughed like a lunatic. You made it, Peabody texted maybe not, then McNabb tested maybe so. And you made it. She yanked open Eve's door before Eve could do it herself and tugged Eve's hand. Come see before I bust. See what? The house. I see the house. What is the house? Ours. Arms stretched, Mavis spun in circles. It's all so mag. It's all so whoa. We bought a house. You bought a house? A really big white brick house with a porch and what looked like an overgrown yard. Since it all struck as dramatically un-Mavis, Eve searched for something to say. She tried, wow. It's wow to the alt. I know it needs work and love and holy shoes, some freaking color and style, but it's just what we wanted, right, Moon Pie? And she's talking to Leonardo. Since Bella all but launched herself out of her father's arms, Eve had no choice but to catch her. Das! She gripped Eve's chin with one hand, pointed at the house with the other. Mine! Yeah, so I hear. I didn't know you were looking for a house. We've been talking about it since, Mavis patted her belly. Knocked up the return. We wanted something with some yard and big enough to grow. And something we could make ours. It's like a blank slate, and we can draw whatever we want on it. Rourke found it for us. Oh, really? Eve turned towards him. Don't be mad. I made him swear not to tell. Mavis slid an arm around Rourke's waist. I really wanted you to see whatever we picked out once we picked. It could be a really great yard, Peabody said. I'm counting on you to make that happen. Flowers, Peabody, and trees and bushes and room for the kids to run. Oh, there it goes. Tears welled, tears fell. Hormones. There's even a basement level I can use for recording, even though I do mostly at Jake's studio now. The minute they hit the porch, Bella wiggled down to raise. Mine! Dingy beige walls showed off lighter squares, rectangles, ovals where art had hung, and the wood floor showed considerable wear and tear. But roomy, Eve figured, with its high ceilings and wide staircase. Obviously thrilled, Bella grabbed Peabody's hand to tug her along, jabbering all the while. Eve noted the dinge, the scars, while Peabody rhapsodized over the natural light, the wide planked oak floors. Hanging back a bit, Eve looked at Rourke. You pointed them at this place? She has good, solid bones, a fine history, and is exactly what they wanted. They wanted old and decrepit. They wanted old and character, some grounds, and the blank slate in or near their neighborhood. She's far from decrepit. Neglected she is, but she's a beauty. She just needs some attention and imagination. Eve narrowed her eyes. You were going to buy this place. I was, yes. I had an offer ready to go when Mavis contacted me. Then he smiled, and it seemed to me this had come across my desk exactly for this reason. Fate, darling Eve. They caught up with Peabody, who was now touting the joys of the woodwork, the molding, and a window seat in what she termed a perfect study. Eve poked her head into a half bath, and its red and gold wallpaper had her stepping quickly out again. They made their way to the main floor into a huge space where Mavis spread her arms. I love how open all this is, right? Kitchen, the family room, the dining room, and you can just see everything. Eve saw it all right. A stunning display of ornate dark cabinetry, acres of block salad counters, and weird fussy lights hanging from everywhere, plus a lot more dinge. So iced having the double fireplace thing. And they go on and on and on and on. And then um, Bella grabbed Eve's hand, then Rourke's. Das, Orc, and she raced into one of the rooms. Mine! She chattered. Dan seemed particularly pleased with a window seat, then the big closet, and finally tugged Rourke's hand until he crouched down to her level. She jabbered. Ah, I see. I'm sure you have it right. Yes, of course. That's just the thing, isn't it now? Clearly pleased, she hugged him, wiggled her butt, then raced off laughing. What the hell was she talking about? Eve demanded. I haven't a clue, but she seemed firm on it. With a shake of her head, Eve walked to the big window. It was overlooking the black and over. Would you come here? This is my big scene in the book, and she's picking at my butt. So, can I read this to you? Can you enjoy the book with me? You know, she thought of the dilapidated farm in Nebraska he turned into a postcard on a bet. Yes, he'd know. Okay, if she wants my nod on it, she's got it, but something's off. The dimensions. The wall stops way before it should. You can see that from the outside, and the patio deal extends beyond where the house stops. The main part of the house, you've got a good eye. I'd have to be blind not to see it. What's the deal? Mavis's next reveal. They went out again where McNabb was talking about updated electronics, house systems for security, entertainment, blah, 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 blah. I can convert the lower level into a studio, Mavis said, and Leonardo's got the kick-ass attic space. But I really want to show you the bonus round. Out here, Rourke. What did you say we could put here? Blow out the wall, install glass accordion doors to the patio. That so instead of this dink door, imagine, and we can put a playhouse out here for Bella and number 2 and have a garden. To us, Peabody, because we're going to miss you having you in the same building. Like nuts, so, McNabb agreed and scooped up Bella. Gotta have my Bellamina fix. Nab, she said with swoon-worthy love and kissed him. We like hearing that, don't we, honey bear? Leonardo opened another door off the patio. We're counting on hearing it. Another kitchen not as big as the other, and this one so white it looked like a lab. White walls, floors, counters, and cabinets. It made up for the white with a dining and small lounging area with candy pink walls. Need my sunshades, McNabb said, and winked at Bella. Good job, Mavis said. Not entirely. They're good cabinets and laid out well. I'd paint them out, Rourke suggested, and tear up the white tile on the floor. If the hardwood doesn't run under it, I'd install it, match the runs to the rest. Tell them all about it. And he goes on and on and on. And then we get to the good part. Too much house for us. Rent it out, McNabb said. You could close off the back door if you didn't want tenants in your yard. You got that privacy entrance there on the side. Yeah, it's nice the way the entrance faces the side. You could get morning light in here. Do the fixes, Peabody said, and you'd rent it out in a heartbeat, this neighborhood all the same. You gotta get Dallas to do run on any potentials, though, McNabb wandered through the room. You really private back here. You want the right tenants and the security we've already talked about. We've already picked the tenants. Still beaming, Mavis cuddled next to Leonardo, who bellowed back on his hips. You guys. Some cops you are, Eve muttered. You didn't see that coming? Peabody found a voice. Oh, listen, this is Mag, both of you, but we're cops. We can't afford the rent space on this place. You could if that's what you're paying now. Peabody immediately shook her head. Mavis, shut up, you too, Eve ordered McNabb. Shut up and hear her out. I knew you'd get it. Tears welled up as Mavis threw herself at Eve. These are my girls, the most precious things in my life, and I'm going to have another precious thing in my life. How could I risk them? You said it yourself. It's private here. We need to do background checks, and even then it's not the same as apartment living. We don't want someone we don't know living here with us, sharing the yard with us. We need friends, someone we know. Without question, Bella and the baby will be safe with. You're cops. What's safer than living besides cops? And we love you. I love it. Don't you love it? It's the only smiley moment. One of the only smiling moments. Then why did I want this? So yeah, Eve is thinking about it later, and she says, it hits me 6 years ago, just a handy number. Mavis was doing some gigs at the Blue Squirrel and waiting tables there to pay the rent on an efficiency apartment about the size of a master closet in that place downtown. I was sleeping in a bigger apartment, sure, but not really living there. I mostly lived at Central. Now I'm living in a freaking castle, and she's going to be living in a big-ass brick house. Life can have some happy turns. I love it. So, we get some more case information. And then Eve is talking to Rock. How come that house was so dingy and neglected? It's a prime real estate, even I know that. The owners relocated with the in-laws to New Mexico for warmer, drier climate. Some health issues, and the owner's daughter had moved there with her husband and had children. They'd hoped to keep the property in the family, but their son didn't want it and lives for several years now in London. And they didn't sell it for sentiment reasons, then it goes on. And then Eve tells Rourke about Natural Order. Natural Order turns out to be a cult, and they control everything, absolutely everything. They it turns out they abduct women, they marry them, they impregnate them, they use them to have babies, and then they control them with drugs and brainwashing and abuse and a whole bunch of serious stuff going on in this book. I'm not sure why I picked this. Um, uh, uh, Peabody said to get the key, and McNair will get started on Gwen's link when they get to Central. She's going to have a house full. It's a big step for all of them. Yeah, I know, but it's probably talked me into brain bleed by the end of shift. I can be happy for her and not want my brain to bleed. She's talking about the house again. Okay, so she gets some more information on the original murder, and Mira comes to talk to her. She talks to Mira for a couple of chapters, and then she goes to talk to Nadine, and Nadine calls her and says, I just finished a tour of Mavis and Leonardo's and Peabody and McNabb's house. Mavis is in there now with an architect and engineer. They're starting demo tomorrow. Already? Their rocks guys already had the plans, expedited permits. She's so stupidly happy she's dancing 1 minute, crying the next. It got me. It really got me. As it happens, I was about to come your way. Why? Why'd you tag me? Natural order. What do you know? I might know some of this, some of that. Now those cat eyes turned sharp. Was the artist who murdered a member? No. Then the killer then. If I knew the killer identity of the killer, I'd be making an arrest instead of tagging you. Digging then. I'll be happy to have a little tete-a-tete with some tit for tat. You've already got tits. I don't have tat. Then we'll quid some pro. Why don't you meet me in a sweet little park, Central and Mavis's new place? That's a nice little walk for both of us. And Eve goes to the park and talks with Nadine. And she also, I like it when I love it when Eve pulls these stunts. Are you going to sit here? Do you like my story? Do you like my story? She likes my story. She's here. I don't know. Can you see? You can't see her. My legs are too fat. What can I tell you? I'm sorry. What? What'd I do? I shifted. So you got me there. What do you know about the natural? Oh, wait a minute. I flipped it. She saw a woman dressed like this. No, skip it. She tells her about natural order. You might be interested to know that when I was just starting out at 75, I planned to do an expose on them. It didn't work out, but I did many man-hours of research, conducted interviews. I even dug up the names of 3 former members, and it cost me $1,500 and got me next to nothing, as none of them, not one, would talk to me, even off the record. I signed up for an introductory seminar, which cost me $250, and that didn't include the $2,000 I spent on fake ID and background to get through their security. Nadine tipped down her shades. That's out of pocket for a young, struggling reporter who wasn't on an expense account. I got through the first session, the break, refreshment, and chit-chat before they broke my fake ID and booted me. So they talk about more of the case, and Eve spots a pickpocket, and I like those. We're just gonna skip. Then I was gonna read that, but while they finish up their talk in the park, Nadine gives Eve a very precious gift. Nadine reached in her bag, pulled out a book, hot off the press, The Red Horse Legacy. Talk about lunatics. It's not out for another 10 days, but you get the first copy. Who knows how many more they'd killed if you hadn't rooted them out. Eve merely grunted. Your name's bigger on this than on the iCove agenda. Smiling, Nadine fluttered her lashes. It is. I didn't notice. She shouldered her bag and rose. 10 days and it launches, and I start a very intense book tour. We're going to close your case, expose Wilkie and his sick order, and report it all on now before I leave. We'll do that because we're smart girls. I cut myself off again. I hate when I cut myself off. That's so unfair. But I did it again. I did it myself. So Nadine gives Eve the copy of the book. Then Eve has a conference with her boss about the FBI had put an agent undercover in the order, and he's gone missing. He's gone silent. They've been unable to contact him for 10 days. Then she fills in Peabody on what Nadine had to say about the case. Then they go talk to a few people involved in the order. And unfortunately, when they go talk to the people involved in the order, the spies see these people. The spies see that Eve has talked to these people, and that is a no-no. And Eve goes to the natural order compound to talk to the head person to just do an interview. And while she's there, a young lady slips her a piece of paper with her name, birth, and birthplace. And then she takes everybody back to her house. She takes Peabody with her, has Yancey come to do sketches, and then McNabb shows up, and then Feeney shows up, and Yancey's there, and they go at it. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am? You back again? So then they identify some people. She makes some more phone calls, and they're investigating Gwen's phone. Gwen said that when she talked to people, people told her there was an echo on her phone. Well, apparently someone had tracked it and put a listening device on it too, so they could listen to her phone calls, and that's how they found out about the relationship, and that's why Ariel is dead. And they also locate two of the people the girl that slipped to the piece of paper. They also locate her real identity, and they also find out there was a social worker who was getting paid enormous amount of money for delivering young, homeless, orphaned children to them for their order. And what? You keep bugging me. You keep saying, Mommy, pay attention to me. She's weird like that. She'll bug me. And if I put my book down, that's all I have to do is put the book down. She runs. She wants me to pay attention to her, and she's coming over and she's rubbing me, and I put my book down, and she runs. Always. So, like I said earlier, they had gone to the neighborhoods to question a few people. And like I said, that questioning got some people in trouble because the spies were watching. It was like that Stepford Wives type atmosphere. Where you can't do anything wrong or you'll be in trouble. These women were not allowed certain foods. They had to give their 100% attention to the children. They weren't allowed to watch TV. They weren't allowed to go outside. They could only do the march. It was like really horrific. So then in the middle of the night, the same night after the group meets at her home, one of the ladies had called her. She had saved up little bits of money here and there and bought herself her own link so that her husband would know about it, and she used it to call 911 and to call Eve. And they take her to Dacus, her and her family to Dacus. They also discover a murder crime scene, and then they go back and rescue a second individual from the neighborhood. And they also discover that the individual has an ankle monitor on, and she will get stunned severely if she leaves the house. She's physically a prisoner in the house. So she calls Rourke, and he gets the device off of her, and they take her to Dacus too, the second girl. And they call Rio in, and they get statements, and they start procedures with there. Then even Peabody meet Agent Tisdale. She's been in a few books before. We've dealt with her. Agent Conroy. And they tell about Tony Quirk was an FBI guy that had gone undercover into the natural order and was never seen. So they're going to work on that. Then they also find out more information about the corrupt social worker. And then Nadine calls her with huge development with documentation. And if you're a fan of these books, Eve treats with her auto chef that now that she's learned it has other foods in it besides coffee, she has a meeting with Cher Rio. I think Mira's in there too, Peabody, and they all have real hamburgers out of her auto chef with fries, and it's a really good thing. Let's see. But the case moves really quickly after that, and some of the things that were done. Rio, just close your eyes. It's a whole new world. Medium rare, side of fries, and why not go for broke if this is really happening? A tube of Pepsi. I'm doing exactly the same, Nadine sighed, but this time with pleasure. Got you covered, Dallas. What do you want? Whatever. Burgers all around. It's down a whole size. Peabody has lost weight. So they all sit down to burgers and they discuss the case. They also discuss Ella Fox and all the other peoples, and it's really horrific what these people were doing. And the ending is a big crescendo. It's a big, huge case. It's a big, huge operation. There's lots of details. So I won't spoil the ending for you, but we got to move on to the next book. And we're almost ready. We're almost ready for the unboxing. I can't wait. I'm not going to open it yet till I get ready to read it. We got a few more books to go yet. So please hit your like and subscribe and let me know I'm doing a good job. Faithless in Death. And I'm telling you, when I read these books, I hear Susan Erickson in my head. I've got her voice in my head. So please hit the like and subscribe and let me know I'm doing a good job. Thank you. Oh, and don't forget Star Trek Fridays. And we have started Flashback Mondays again. So hopefully that will go over good. Please let me know. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.